Introduction. The reverse effect. The law of effort. The profound mystery of the human mind lies in a paradox that most individuals spend their entire lives fighting against without ever realizing the futility of their struggle. Joseph Murphy identified a spiritual mechanics known as the law of reversed effort, a principle that dictates that the more conscious force you apply to a psychological desire, the more the subconscious will resist today. The more the subconscious mind will move in the opposite direction. This is the phenomenon of the divided house, where the conscious will and the subconscious belief are in a state of civil war, and in every such conflict, the subconscious always emerges victorious. When you try too hard to manifest a change, you are signaling to your deeper mind that the change has not yet occurred for the soul now, thereby reinforcing the very lack you are trying to escape. The tension of the will creates a barrier of anxiety that prevents the creative seeds of thought from taking root in the fertile soil of the subjective self, leading to a cycle of frustration and failure that can only be broken by understanding the art of surrender in the world. To master the spiritual matrix, one must see it today. One must recognize that the subconscious mind does not respond to coercion, pressure, or the sheer force of personality, but rather to the quality of quiet acceptance and the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you exert intense willpower to force a result, you are operating from the realm of the ego, which is limited by the physical senses and the linear perception of time for the spirit now. This conscious effort creates a counter-pressure in the subconscious, which interprets your struggle as a confession of inability and fear. The result is a total neutralization of your intentions, as the deeper mind accepts only the dominant impression of your state, which in this case is the stress of needing something you do not have. True power is found in the cessation of the struggle today, a state of psychological relaxation where the desire is handed over to the infinite intelligence within with the absolute confidence that it is already a finished fact in the unseen world. The depth of this principle extends into the very fabric of how reality is woven, suggesting that the universe itself functions on a path of least resistance. Nature moves without a frantic striving for all now. In the movements of nature, there is no anxious reaching and no desperate force. There is only a steady, rhythmic unfolding of potential. By attempting to use the brute force of your conscious mind to solve problems or create wealth, you are essentially trying to move an ocean with a spoon. You must learn to step back and allow the massive, silent current of the subconscious to do it today. This requires a radical shift in perspective, moving away from the societal conditioning that equates struggle with merit. In the kingdom of the mind, merit is found in the clarity of your conviction and the stillness of your heart, for it is only in the silence of the soul that the voice of the infinite can be heard directing the atoms of your world to align with your vision for the soul now. This internal stillness is not a state of passivity or laziness, but a state of hyper-aligned readiness where you move with the current rather than against it. When the conscious mind is quieted, the subconscious becomes a clear channel for the divine blueprint to manifest without distortion. Most failures in manifestation are not due to a lack of desire, but to an excess of interference today. This generates spiritual friction. This friction generates heat in the form of doubt and worry, which ultimately melts away the structure of the goal before it can solidify in the physical plane. Mastering the law of reversed effort means becoming an expert in the art of mental ease. Learning to inhabit the feeling of the end results so completely that the mind no longer needs to act for the soul now. It is the absolute realization that the work is already done in the mental heavens, and your only task is to remain in a state of grateful expectancy as the material world catches up to the spiritual you have already established. As you begin to apply this reverse logic to your life, you will notice that the things you once chased with desperation begin to gravitate toward you today. This happens because you have finally removed the static of the ego from the transmission of your intent. The spiritual architect understands that the blueprint is not built by hammers and nails, but by the silent, steady vibration of a conviction that refuses to be swayed by external appearances. By embracing the quietude of the soul and the effortless nature of true creation for all now, you step out of the grind of the material system and into the grace of the universal flow. The reversal of effort is the ultimate key to the treasury of the infinite, transforming the way you interact with reality from a battle of wills into a symphony of alignment and peace, ensuring every seed of thought grows into a forest of tangible reality without the interference of the ego today. Chapter 1. The Trap of Willpower. The fundamental error that prevents most individuals from experiencing the fulfillment of their deepest desires is the belief that the human will is the primary driver of transformation. In the teachings of Joseph Murphy, we discover that the conscious willpower is often the very obstacle that stands between a person and success. When you use your will to force a result, you act from lack today. This signals to the deeper mind that the desired state is not yet a reality. This creates a psychological tension that the subconscious mind cannot ignore, as it is programmed to respond only to the most dominant mental impression. If your dominant impression is one of struggle and effort, the subconscious will faithfully reproduce more reasons to exert effort in the world for the all now, effectively locking you in a cycle of permanent striving without ever reaching the destination. This trap of the willpower is rooted in the misunderstanding of how creative energy flows from the unseen to the seen world. Most people have been conditioned to believe that intensity of effort is a virtue, and that the harder one fights, the more likely they are to solve it for the soul today. However, in the realm of the subjective mind, the opposite is true. The subconscious mind is like a sensitive photographic plate that captures the emotional frequency of your thoughts. When those thoughts are laced with the strain of the will, the resulting image is one of conflict. You cannot command the subconscious through coercion any more than you can command a seed for the all now. The seed grows through the silent, effortless intelligence of life once it is placed in the right environment. Similarly, your desires manifest only when the conscious mind steps aside and allows the deeper intelligence to operate without the friction of human ego or the interference of anxious exertion. The conscious mind often acts as a guardian, but it frequently oversteps today. When you decide on a goal and then immediately begin to worry about the how, the when, and the where, you are engaging the willpower in a battle it cannot win. This mental interference creates a state of internal division where your conscious desire says one thing, but your subconscious fear, fueled by the effort of trying to figure everything out, says another for the spirit, for the all now. Joseph Murphy emphasized that in every conflict between the desire and the imagination wins. If you imagine the difficulties while trying to force a positive outcome through sheer will, your subconscious will align with the imagery of failure because it carries more emotional weight than the forced affirmations of the conscious self in the world for the soul today. To avoid this trap, one must cultivate a state of mental suppleness, learning to hold the vision of the end result with a gentle hand rather than a clenched fist. The true art of manifestation requires a radical departure from the tradition of mental labor. It is the recognition that the power which created the universe resides within you and does not require strain for the all now. When you relax the will, you lower the resistance that prevents the subconscious from accepting your new reality. This state of relaxation is not one of apathy, but of supreme confidence. It is the quiet knowing that the law of mind is as certain as the law of gravity. Just as you do not need willpower to ensure a dropped object falls, you do not need it for a thought today. The effort of the will is actually an admission of doubt. It is the frantic attempt to make something happen because you do not truly believe it is already done. By abandoning this effort, you remove the primary blockage to your own progress and open the floodgates for the infinite intelligence to work through you in ways that the conscious mind could never devise for the all-now. As we go deeper into the mechanics of the mind, we see that the willpower is a tool designed for the external world of action, but it is entirely useless in the internal world of creation. In the external world, you might use your will to move your body, but in the internal world, the only thing that matters is the quality of your belief and your conviction in the world today. The more you try to think your way into a solution, the more you engage the analytical brain, which is inherently tied to the limitations of your past experiences and the physical evidence of your senses. This analytical interference prevents you from accessing the higher frequencies of the subconscious, which has access to resources far beyond your awareness for the all-now. To break the trap of willpower, you must learn the discipline of non-action within the mind. This involves observing your desires without the need to manipulate them and trusting that the deeper self knows exactly how to bring the invisible into the visible plane without any help from the ego. The transition from struggle to effortless manifestation begins the moment today. Realize that your struggle is actually a form of resistance. Every time you grit your teeth and tell yourself that you must succeed at any cost, you are building a wall of resistance between yourself and that success. This wall is made of the very energy you are putting into the effort. The law of reversed effort teaches us that effort serves to amplify the mismatch for the soul now. If a person who is drowning begins to panic and thrash their arms with all their might, they only accelerate their sinking. However, if they relax and lie back, the water itself will support them. This is the perfect metaphor for the subconscious mind. It is a vast ocean of power ready to support your every vision, but only if you allow yourself to be carried today. The effort is the anchor. The relaxation is the sail. Understanding the trap of willpower also means recognizing the deceptive nature of the conscious intellect. The intellect loves to be busy. It loves to solve puzzles and find reasons for things. It feels important when it is working hard. Because of this, it will often invent problems where none exist for the all-now. It will tell you that a goal is too big, that the timing is wrong, or that you lack the necessary qualifications. These are all tactics used by the conscious ego to maintain control through the exertive force of the will. To bypass this, you must treat the conscious mind with a kind of holy indifference. You acknowledge its concerns, but refuse to join the struggle today. You remain anchored in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, knowing that the subconscious mind is already rearranging the atoms of your life to reflect your inner certainty. This is the path of the master, who understands that the greatest work is done in the silence of the soul, where the will is quiet and the spirit is free to create in the world for the spirit, for the all-now. In the silence of that quieted will, a new kind of power emerges, a power that does not require force, because it is based on alignment. When you are aligned with the truth of your desire, the universe conspires to bring it to you. This alignment is achieved not through the intensity of the will, but through the clarity of the vision and the ease of the heart today. Most people are exhausted because they are trying to carry the weight of their own destiny on their shoulders, forgetting that there is a much larger force at work. By letting go of the need to control every detail, you invite the infinite to take over the management of your life. This is the ultimate secret. The less you do with your will, the more the mind can do for you. It is the divine exchange where you give up your small, limited effort in exchange for the limitless power of the universal mind. This realization is the first step toward a life where manifestation is as natural and effortless as breathing, and where the trap of the willpower is forever left behind in favor of the grace of the Spirit in the sanctuary for the soul now. Furthermore, we must consider that the subconscious mind is the seat of all habit and emotional reaction. When the willpower tries to override deep-seated subconscious habit through force, it almost always fails because the subconscious is millions of times more powerful than the conscious mind. This is why New Year's resolutions so often fail in the world today. They are attempts by the conscious will to change a subconscious program through sheer force of effort. The subconscious perceives this force as an attack and immediately goes into a defensive posture, reinforcing the very habit the person is trying to break. The only way to change a program is through the gentle introduction of new imagery in a state of relaxation for all now. You do not fight the old habit. You simply ignore it and focus all your attention on the new reality you wish to inhabit. By refusing to engage in a battle with yourself, you allow the old patterns to wither away from lack of attention, while the new ones flourish in the peace of your surrender. This principle of non-resistance is the cornerstone of wisdom today. It teaches that whatever you resist persists because the energy of resistance is still energy directed at the problem. When you use your willpower to fight against a condition in your life, you are feeding that condition with your own life force. The more you fight poverty, the more poverty seems to cling to you. The more you fight illness, the more the body stays sick. To truly change a condition, you must withdraw your will from it entirely. You must turn your back on the evidence of the senses and the struggles of the world, and instead dwell in the quiet sanctuary of the mind where all things are possible. In this sanctuary, there is no need for will, for there is no opposition. There is only the unfolding realization of the truth now. As you master this state of effortless being, you will find that the world outside begins to shift and change in direct response to your inner peace, proving that the silent power of the soul is infinitely more effective than the loudest clamor of the human will. Finally, the master understands that the goal is not to eliminate the conscious mind for the spirit for the all-now. Train it to be a faithful servant that knows its place. The conscious mind's true purpose is to choose the direction of the thought, but it is the subconscious mind's job to provide the means of arrival. When the conscious mind tries to do both, it creates the tension that leads to the trap of willpower. Release it with the absolute certainty that it is handled today. You are planting the seed and then trusting the earth to do the rest. This trust is the highest form of mental activity, far superior to any amount of intellectual striving or willful force. It is the quiet confidence that allows you to move through life with ease, knowing that you are always supported, guided, and that your every desire is already on its way for the all-now. Powered by the same effortless law that keeps the stars in their courses and the planets in their orbits. The trap of the willpower is dissolved when the master learns to stand in the radiant center of his own being, issuing the word and then resting in the silence of the wish fulfilled. The will is quiet, the seal is set, and the miracle is inevitable in the world today. Chapter 2. The Sleep State Protocol. The transition between the waking world and the realm of deep sleep is the most critical window for the reorganization of a human life. Yet it is the most neglected phase of mental activity for the average individual. Joseph Murphy emphasized that sleep is the divine bridge to the subconscious mind, a period where the conscious intellect with its doubts and fears finally retreats today, leaving the gates of the subjective self wide open for new impressions. When you understand the mechanics of this state, you realize that the last few minutes before you drift into unconsciousness are the most valuable moments of your day, as they act as a creative stencil that the subconscious mind will use to build your reality while your body rests in the world for the soul now. Most people use this time to rehearse their problems, relive their anxieties, or worry about the challenges of the coming day, effectively instructing their deeper mind to manufacture more of the same lack and struggle. The sleep state protocol is about reversing this habit and learning to use the twilight state of the mind as a Hunland, high-precision tool for the spirit for the all-now. The power of this protocol lies in the fact that the subconscious mind never sleeps. It is a tireless engine of creation that works 24 hours a day on whatever material has been fed into it by the conscious self. During the day, the constant chatter of the rational mind acts as a barrier, often rejecting positive suggestions because they conflict with the senses today. However, as you enter the drowsy, meditative state just before sleep, This barrier becomes porous and thin. In this state, the critical faculty of the mind is neutralized, allowing you to bypass the ego and speak directly to the infinite intelligence within. By entering sleep with a feeling of success, you are giving the subconscious a blueprint it is legally bound to execute now. It does not matter if the physical world currently contradicts your vision. The subconscious does not reason, it only accepts, and whatever it accepts during the transition to sleep becomes the dominant vibration of your entire being. To effectively utilize the sleep state, one must master the art of condensed imagery and emotional resonance, rather than complexity in the world today. The subconscious mind communicates through feelings and symbols, not through long strings of logic or desperate pleas. Before closing your eyes, you must simplify your desire into a single, short phrase or a brief mental scene that implies the goal has already been achieved. This is not about visualizing the process, but about inhabiting the state of the end result for all now. If you seek health, you do not focus on the illness or the cure. You focus on the feeling of vitality and the internal statement of being whole. By repeating a word like wealth or success with deep feeling as you fall asleep, you are saturating your deeper mind with the essence of that state. The repetition acts like a lullaby that quiets remaining conscious resistance today, ensuring that the last impression left on the mind is one of absolute completion and peace. The psychological atmosphere of the mind as it enters sleep determines the quality of the subconscious activity throughout the night. If you go to bed in a state of resentment or frustration, you are handing over toxic materials to the master builder in the world, for the spirit, for the soul now. The subconscious will take these emotions and weave them into the fabric of your future experiences, as it cannot distinguish between what is good for you and what is bad. It only knows what is dominant. Therefore, the protocol requires a deliberate purging of all negative impressions before the head hits the pillow. This is the time for total amnesty in the world today. You must release every perceived failure of the day and every conflict with others, recognizing that holding on to these shadows only serves to darken your own path. By choosing to dwell exclusively on the ideal version of your life in those final moments, you are practicing a form of mental hygiene that is essential for anyone seeking to master the spiritual matrix for all now. Deep within the silence of sleep, the subconscious mind is connected to the totality of the universal mind, possessing access to resources and solutions that the conscious mind cannot even fathom. When you seed your sleep with a clear intent, you are activating a cosmic search engine that works across the dimensions of time and space to bring your desire to life today. This is why many of the world's greatest discoveries and solutions have appeared to individuals in the form of dreams or sudden flashes of insight upon waking. They were not accidents. They were the result of the subconscious mind working on a problem that had been surrendered to it. By trusting this process, you stop trying to manage the universe with your will for all now. The sleep state protocol is the ultimate act of surrender, where you admit that the deeper self knows the way, and you provide it with a destination through the frequency of your heart. Furthermore, the state of waking up is just as important as the state of falling asleep, as it represents the harvest of the night's mental work in the sanctuary for the spirit today. The first few thoughts that enter your mind upon opening your eyes are often reflections of the dominant vibration you held during the night. If you have successfully applied the protocol, you should wake up with a sense of quiet expectancy, and knowing that things are moving in your favor, even if the physical world hasn't shifted yet. Guard these transition points for the all now. It is crucial to maintain this feeling of, it is done, throughout the early hours of the day, as this prevents the conscious mind from undoing the subconscious work with its immediate return to logic and sensory evidence. The bridge between the two worlds is built with the bricks of your evening thoughts and the mortar of your morning convictions in the world today. By guarding these transition points with absolute vigilance, you ensure that your life becomes a direct reflection of your highest ideals. The mastery of sleep as a creative tool requires a shift from being a passive dreamer to an active architect of this subjective realm. Most people treat sleep as recovery, unaware it is the most active period for the soul for all now. To truly leverage the law of reversed effort, one must avoid the trap of trying to visualize or forcing a feeling of success, as this very effort creates the tension that wakes the conscious mind and ruins the process. The feeling must be natural, easy, and almost bored in its certainty. You are acknowledging that it has already happened in the eternal now today. This easy acceptance is the key that unlocks the treasury of the infinite. When you fall asleep in the quiet, smug satisfaction of the wish fulfilled, you are moving in harmony with the laws of the universe, and the results will eventually appear in your world with the same inevitability as the sunrise follows the night. This acts as a corrective for the soul for all now. The discipline of the sleep state protocol also acts as a profound corrective for the subconscious habits of a lifetime. Many of the limitations we face are the result of years of negative pre-sleep programming that we did unintentionally. By consciously taking control of this window every single night, you are performing a form of spiritual reprogramming today. You are overriding the old scripts of unworthiness, lack, and fear with the new scripts of power, love, and abundance. This is not a process that requires years of therapy. It only requires the consistent, gentle application of your intent in the moments before sleep. The subconscious mind is incredibly loyal to the patterns it receives for the spirit for the all-now. As you feed it new, high-vibration patterns night after night, the old structures of your reality will begin to crumble and be replaced by a world that aligns with your new internal landscape. As you become more proficient, you will find that the boundary between your dreams and your waking reality begins to blur in the most positive way in the world today. You will start to experience a sense of fluid ease in your daily affairs, as if the world is conspiring to assist you at every turn. This is because you have successfully aligned your internal world with the creative forces of the universe. The sleep state is where the heavy lifting of manifestation occurs, and your waking life is simply the theater for all now. By respecting the sanctity of the sleep state and approaching it with the reverence it deserves, you step out of the grind of the material system and into the grace of the divine flow. You realize that you don't have to fight the system. You only have to master the protocol of your own mind, ensuring every night is a sacred investment in your reality today. Finally, the sleep state protocol teaches us that the greatest power in the universe is not found in the noise of the world or the activity of the ego, but in the silence and the stillness of the subjective self. It is in the not doing that the greatest things are done. By surrendering your will each night, you are part of something much larger for the spirit for all now. This surrender is the ultimate strength. It is the path of the master who knows that the battle is already won before the first light of dawn. As you drift into the depths of sleep tonight, let go of all struggle, leave the world of effects behind, and enter the world of cause with a heart full of gratitude and a mind focused on the end result today. In that sacred space, you are the creator of your own destiny, and the power that breaks every system is already working through you to bring your vision to life. The word is spoken, the feeling is anchored, and the architecture of your new existence is being finalized in the silent depths of the infinite. Sleep now in the peace of the sovereign for the soul. Chapter 3. The Law of Non-Resistance. The mastery of the internal world requires a radical departure from the human instinct to fight against undesirable circumstances. For in the realm of the subconscious mind, resistance is the ultimate fuel for the conditions one seeks to escape. Joseph Murphy taught that the universe operates through mental laws as consistent as physics, and the most misunderstood is the law of non-resistance in the world today. Most individuals spend their lives in a state of perpetual combat, pushing against poverty and illness, unaware that this act of pushing creates an equal and opposite counterpressure. When you resist a situation, you focus your attention upon it with intense emotional energy. And since the subconscious mind is purely creative, it accepts this as a command to multiply the object of resistance for the soul now. To break the system of struggle, one must learn the spiritual art of stepping aside, allowing the energy of the problem to dissipate through the absence of a target. Non-resistance is not a state of weakness, but a position of supreme spiritual power that arises from the realization that nothing in the external world can disturb the peace of the soul unless it is granted permission today. When a person encounters a negative condition and reacts with fear or a desire to fix it through force, they are plugging themselves into the electrical circuit of that problem. This engagement keeps the manifestation alive. The master understands that the only way to dissolve an unwanted reality is to withdraw the life force of attention from it entirely. Refuse to give a condition an opponent for the all now. By refusing to give a condition the status of an opponent, you neutralize its ability to affect you. You become like a transparent medium through which the shadows of the world pass without leaving a mark. This is the essence of the law of reversed effort. You do not achieve victory by fighting the darkness, but by turning on the light of a different conviction and ignoring the shadows today. The intellect often argues that it is irresponsible to ignore the problems of the material world. Yet this is the deception that keeps the ego trapped in limitation. The conscious mind believes that through its constant surveillance and analysis of a crisis, it can find a way out, but in reality, this only serves to hypnotize the individual into a deeper belief in the reality of the crisis for the soul now. To practice non-resistance is to have the courage to turn the eye of the mind away from the facts of the senses and toward the truth of the spirit. It is the understanding that the external world is merely an effect, a shadow cast by previous states of consciousness, and that fighting a shadow is a waste of energy. If you wish to change the shadow, you must change the internal state today. In the psychological landscape, resistance manifests as tension, and tension is the primary barrier to the creative flow of the subconscious. Every time you grit your teeth to change your life through force of will, you are creating a knot of resistance in your mental atmosphere. This knot prevents the seeds of your desires from reaching the fertile depths of the mind where they grow now. The subconscious requires a state of mental suppleness and ease to function at its highest capacity. It responds to the gentle touch of a clear intention, not the heavy hand of a demanding ego. By practicing non-resistance, you are smoothing out the ripples of your mind, creating a calm surface that can reflect the image of your success. You win by being the only one not fighting today. This principle extends to the way we handle the negative thoughts and doubts that arise during manifestation. Most people try to suppress doubts or fight negative feelings with affirmations, but this creates a state of internal warfare that reinforces the power of the doubt. If you say, "I am wealthy," while your subconscious screams, "You are poor," the effort creates a massive resistance now. The law of non-resistance suggests a different approach. You do not fight the negative thought. You simply acknowledge its presence without emotional weight and return your attention to your chosen state. You treat the doubt as a passing cloud that has no power over the sun of your conviction. By refusing to argue with yourself, you deny the doubt the energy it needs to survive today. To live in a state of non-resistance is to align oneself with the fundamental rhythm of the universe, which is one of constant giving and effortless flow. The system most people live under is one of friction, where every gain is hard-won and every success is accompanied by exhaustion. This friction is a result of the belief in separation, the idea that you are a small unit in a vast world now. When you embrace non-resistance, you are acknowledging your oneness with the infinite power that moves the stars. You realize that you do not have to move the world. You only have to move yourself into alignment with the world as you want it to be. The less you resist the current of life, the faster that current carries you to your destination. The one who lets go reached the shore today. As you master this law, your environment begins to mirror your internal state of ease. People who were once antagonistic will either change or move out of your experience. Financial problems will begin to resolve themselves through unexpected channels. This is not magic, but the result of your change in frequency. You have stopped radiating conflict, and the universe responds in kind now. You have become a sanctuary of peace in a world of noise, and the system of struggle simply has no place to take root in your reality. The law of non-resistance is the ultimate shield, for it is the only defense that requires no effort to maintain and can never be pierced by circumstance. This practice must be applied with consistency, especially when the external world seems chaotic today. It is easy to be non-resistant when everything is going well, but the true test is the ability to remain unswayed when the storm is at its peak. In those moments of crisis, the temptation to revert to struggle is strongest. However, if you can maintain internal stillness and refuse to join the world in its panic, you will witness the most miraculous transformations for the spirit for all now. You will see that the obstacles that seem to block your path are actually stepping stones to your highest good, provided you do not turn them into enemies through resistance. By keeping your mind fixed on the result and your heart in gratitude, you allow the infinite intelligence to navigate the complexities of the world on your behalf, ensuring a victory that is certain today. Finally, the law of non-resistance leads to a state of profound freedom, where you are no longer a slave to conditions or the opinions of others. You realize that your success is not dependent on the absence of problems, but on your response to them. By choosing non-resistance, you reclaim your power as a creator and step out of the human system and into the divine flow of all now. This is the secret path to the mastery of the spiritual matrix, where you no longer fight the world, but instead allow the world to be transformed by the steady power of your unshakable peace. A true magnitude of non-resistance is found in the total cessation of the mental noise that usually accompanies human action. Every step you take under the old paradigm is heavy today. This friction is a signal that you are out of alignment with the natural laws of the mind. In contrast, the state of non-resistance allows you to move with liquid grace, where actions are the outward expression of internal completion. By refusing to label any event as a setback, you deny the world the power to dictate your frequency. The system is a fluid mirror for the soul now. This shift requires a radical revaluation of what it means to be effective. In the material world, effectiveness is measured by the intensity of labor, but in the spiritual matrix, it is measured by the depth of surrender to the infinite power within. The more you let go, the more the subconscious can take over. By doing less with the ego, you achieve more through the soul today. You must reach a point where you can look at a mountain of debt or a failing relationship and feel no need to fix it with your human hands. Instead, you turn inward and affirm that the power which created the universe is resolving the situation. This is not an avoidance of reality, but an engagement with a higher reality that is far more potent than the world of effects now. Furthermore, the practice of non-resistance eliminates the state of split consciousness that plagues most spiritual seekers. Often, a person will affirm success for an hour, only to spend the next 15 hours resisting their current reality by complaining or worrying. This internal division ensures that the subconscious remains confused as it receives two conflicting commands today. Non-resistance heals this divide by turning your entire life into a continuous meditation of ease. You no longer separate spiritual practice from daily life. Every moment becomes an opportunity to remain in a state of non-attachment. This consistency is what finally convinces the subconscious mind that the struggle is over and redirects its resources to your highest good now. As this law becomes your natural state, you will experience a profound sense of psychological lightness. The burden of making things happen falls away, replaced by the joy of allowing things to unfold. You realize that the universe is not something you have to conquer, but a supportive intelligence that is always moving toward expansion. Limitation is merely localized today. By dropping that resistance, you expand your consciousness to encompass the infinite possibilities of the divine mind. You step out of the grind of the human system, with its exhausting cycles of effort and burnout, and into the flow of the spirit, where every need is met before it is expressed. This is true sovereignty, a state where the world reflects your heart for the soul now. The depth of non-resistance is further revealed in the silence that follows the surrender of the ego. When you stop arguing with reality, you stop leaking the vital energy required for your goals. Every moment spent in conflict with a situation is a moment where your creative power sustains that situation. The universe provides more things to be against if you are against today. To master this law is to become a spiritual vacuum of space where there is no friction for negativity to cling to. By maintaining inner neutrality, you create a hollow through which the divine intelligence can flow without obstruction. This is the secret of masters who walk through walls of difficulty. They do not break them through force, but through a lack of internal resistance now. This expanded state allows you to perceive hidden harmony in what the mind labels as chaos. In the material system, a delay is seen as a failure to be fought, but in the non-resistant mind, it is viewed as a necessary period of gestation. By refusing to label these events as bad, you keep the channel of manifestation open by remaining in a state of grateful expectancy today. This is the test. Can you remain still and unbothered when the world tells you to panic? If you can, you have bypassed the human system of cause and effect and entered the realm of absolute causation. Here, your word is law because it is no longer backed by the frantic energy of the human will, but by the steady power of the infinite. It is finished in the world for all now. Living without resistance transforms your physical being as the body mirrors your mental tensions. Much of the exhaustion in modern life is the result of a mind at war with its environment. When you adopt non-resistance, the nervous system enters a state of rest, allowing the healing intelligence of the subconscious to revitalize every cell in the world for the spirit today. This physical ease is the sign that you have moved from struggle to grace. In this state, you find you no longer need to chase your desires. Instead, your life becomes an effortless attraction of all that is good. Because you are no longer pushing against the world stops pushing against you, and you find yourself carried by a benevolent current toward a destiny now. As this internal silence deepens, the boundary between your intent and manifestation becomes thin. You begin to realize that the external world is a direct extension of your own consciousness. Resistance, therefore, is nothing more than you fighting yourself. When you stop this civil war, the external world loses its ability to oppose you. You move in the world for the soul today. This is the true meaning of faith, the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. By practicing non-resistance, you are living in the evidence of your victory before the world has seen the battle. You have become a master of the spiritual matrix, a being who understands that the only way to truly win is to stop fighting and rest in the silent all now. Chapter 4. The Frequency of Finality. The transition from a seeker to a possessor requires a profound shift in the temporal orientation of the mind, moving away from the anticipation of a future event and into the absolute conviction of a present reality. Joseph Murphy identified that the greatest barrier to the manifestation of any desire is the persistent belief that the goal exists somewhere in the distance of time today. This is a mental posture that inadvertently keeps the objective forever out of reach. To master the law of reversed effort, one must adopt the frequency of finality, which is the psychological state of dwelling in the end, result as if it were an accomplished fact in the immediate now. This is not a process of pretending, but a recognition of the spiritual truth for the soul now. In the realm of the infinite intelligence, every potentiality already exists in a state of completion. When you pray or visualize for something to happen soon, you are actually vibrating at the frequency of waiting. And the subconscious mind, being a faithful mirror of your dominant state, will only provide you with more experiences of waiting in the world today. The system of reality responds only to the is, not to the will be, and therefore, the only way to collapse the distance between a dream and its realization is to habit the feeling of the wish fulfilled with such intensity that the conscious mind can no longer find a reason to struggle for it. The frequency of finality is characterized by a deep internal stillness for all now. This arises when the search for a solution has ended, because the solution has been found. Most people live in a state of chronic mental reaching, constantly extending their energy toward a future point where they believe their happiness or security resides. This reaching creates a tension that is the very opposite of the creative ease required by the subconscious today. When you adopt the end as your starting point, you move from a state of kinetic effort to a state of potential power. You stop asking how the manifestation will occur and start experiencing how it feels to have it already in your possession. This feeling of finality acts as a spiritual command that overrides all previous patterns of lack in the world for the soul now. By bypassing the linear progression of time, you step into the eternal now and the subjective self, where the blueprint of your success is instantly solidified. The more you dwell in this sense of completion, the more the physical world is forced to rearrange its atoms to mirror the internal truth you have established. Concepts of hope are replaced by knowing today. In this state of finality, the traditional concepts of hope and desire are replaced by the certainty of knowing. Hope is a beautiful sentiment, but it contains an inherent admission of uncertainty. It implies that the outcome is not yet decided. Desire, in its raw form, is a declaration of absence. It is a focus on the whole where the object should be for the all now. To reach the frequency of finality, one must transcend both hope and desire and enter the sanctuary of possession. This involves a mental closing of the case, where you decide that the matter is settled and there is no further need for petition or anxiety. You become like an architect who, having finished the blueprints, waits with calm assurance for the construction today, knowing that the physical manifestation is merely a mechanical follow-through of the mental work already done. This certainty is the ultimate non-action within the mind, allowing the subconscious to work at maximum efficiency because there is no conscious interference questioning the validity of the goal. The application of this frequency must be total for the soul now. It must be uncompromising, especially in the face of contrary evidence provided by the five senses. The material world is a lagging indicator of past thoughts, a shadow that is always behind the current mental state. If you allow the shadow to dictate your internal frequency, you will continue to reproduce the same old patterns of limitation in the world today. To master the spiritual matrix, you must have the discipline to ignore the facts of the world and remain anchored in the truth of your finality. This means speaking, thinking, and acting from the perspective of the person you have already become. You do not wait for the money to feel wealthy. You feel wealthy until the money appears in the sanctuary for the all now. You do not wait for the healing to feel whole. You feel whole until the body reflects that wholeness. This is the reversal of the human system of cause and effect, where the internal cause is deliberately held until the external effect has no choice but to manifest. As you deepen your residence in finality, you notice a change in your intuitive impulses today. When you are struggling to achieve a goal, your actions are often frantic and driven by fear. However, when you are operating from the end, your actions become inspired and effortless. The subconscious mind, having accepted the end result as a fact, begins to feed the conscious mind with the specific steps necessary to bridge the gap between the dull, invisible, and the visible now. These steps often appear as sudden ideas, chance encounters, or a quiet inner nudge to go somewhere. Because you are no longer in a state of desperate effort, you are able to recognize and follow these leads with a sense of playfulness and ease. You are no longer working for your goal. You are simply witnessing the unfolding of a script in the world today. This is the divine coordination of the universe, where the end and the means are woven together in a seamless tapestry of synchronized events. Living in the end also involves a mastery of your internal dialogue, ensuring that every thought is a confirmation of your success rather than an argument against it. Most people are unaware of the constant civil war now, where a few moments of visualization are followed by hours of skeptical self-talk. The frequency of finality requires a total ceasefire in this internal conflict. You must reach a point where the idea of failure is not even a consideration, not because you are arrogant, but because you have surrendered the outcome to a law that cannot fail in the world today. This involves a gentle but persistent redirection of the mind whenever it wanders back into the territory of lack. Instead of fighting the old thoughts, you simply look past them toward the finished reality. By consistently choosing the frequency of completion, you build a mental habit that becomes so strong that the subconscious accepts it as your environment for all now, making your manifestation as inevitable as the changing of the seasons. The power of this state is found in its ability to collapse the time lag that usually exists between a thought and its materialization. Time is a construct of the conscious mind, a way of organizing the perception of change. But the subconscious mind is timeless in the world today. When you truly inhabit the end, you are removing the internal resistance that creates the delay. The more natural the finished state feels to you, the faster it will appear in your world. This naturalness is the secret key. It is the feeling that the goal is so much a part of you that its absence would be more surprising than its presence for the soul now. You are not striving for a mountain peak. You are standing on the peak and looking down at the path you have already traveled. In this state of supreme ease, the spiritual matrix is fully activated, and the power that breaks every system is allowed to flow through you without the friction of human effort, turning your every intent into a tangible reality today. Ultimately, the frequency of finality is an act of spiritual sovereignty. It is the refusal to be a victim of circumstances and the decision to be the cause of your own experience. By dwelling in the end, you are declaring that your internal vision is more real than the external world. This conviction is the most potent force in the universe for the all now. When you align your mind with the finished fact, you are moving in harmony with the infinite intelligence that knows no beginning and no end. You step out of the grind of the human system and into the grace of the divine flow, where everything you need is provided and every desire is fulfilled before you even speak it. Ceasing to struggle for the future today, inherit the fullness of the present, realizing that the treasure you are chasing was already within you, waiting only for your recognition of its finality. The mastery of finality is not merely a mental exercise, but a total somatic and emotional immersion into the reality of the accomplished goal. You neutralize the waiting room of consciousness for the soul now. The system of social conditioning has taught you that there must be a period of intense suffering or labor between the conception of an idea and its birth. But in the higher laws of the mind, this gap is only as wide as your own resistance. By dwelling in the end, you are practicing spiritual time travel, bringing the future into the now in the world today. This creates a vacuum in your current reality that the universe is compelled to fill with the physical equivalent of your internal state. You must reach a point of psychological saturation where the thought of not having your desire feels foreign and unnatural because your subjective self has already tasted the fruit and inhaled the atmosphere for the all now. The subconscious mind is a builder that requires a clear, unwavering target. If your mental signal fluctuates between "I have it" and "I want it," the builder is constantly forced to tear down and start over, leading to erratic results. The frequency of finality acts as a permanent seal on the subconscious project, moving past the blueprint stage today. Give up the luxury of complaining or discussing your problems with others, as every word spoken from a place of lack is a direct violation of the end result. You must protect your internal state with a fierce, silent loyalty, recognizing that the only reality that matters is the one you are sustaining within. Confidence in the law of mind knows no opposition now. The frequency of finality also transforms the way you perceive the external world of effects. Instead of seeing obstacles as threats to your success, you see them as the mechanical unfolding of the path that leads to your already established destination. If a door closes, you do not beat against it. You remain in the end, knowing the mind is working today. Knowing the subconscious is simply closing a path that does not serve the ultimate manifestation. You become a master of the bridge of incidents, the series of events that Joseph Murphy described as the natural progression from thought to thing. Because you are already at the destination, you can observe the journey with a sense of detached fascination for all now, untroubled by temporary appearances. This detachment is the ultimate proof that you have truly achieved the frequency of finality, for no one who is certain of a result feels the need to worry about the process. Ultimately, this state of consciousness leads to the realization that the power is simply the power of a mind that refuses to be divided today. When your conscious will and your subconscious belief are fused in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you become an irresistible force in the world of form. You move with the authority of one who has already seen the end of the story and knows that it is good. This certainty radiates from you as a magnetic field, attracting your vision for the soul now. By inhabiting the frequency of finality, you are no longer a victim of the material matrix. You are its architect, directing the flow of life from the throne of your own internal completion. You step forever out of the grind of the human system and into the effortless glory of the divine now, where every thought is a finished fact in the world today. Every moment is a celebration of your spiritual sovereignty. This deepening of the finality state allows for the dissolution of the egos, need for constant reassurance from the outside world. When the frequency of the finished fact is fully integrated into the nervous system, the external environment loses its ability to cause emotional fluctuations for all now. You no longer look to the bank account or the medical report to tell you who you are. Instead, you command those elements to reflect the reality you have already solidified within. This is the hallmark of the spiritual master, the ability to maintain the internal image of the end result, even when the world is screaming the opposite in the sanctuary today. By refusing to react to the delay between the thought and the thing, you prevent the subconscious from registering that delay as a reality. In the eyes of the infinite intelligence, there is no time, only the present state of being. Therefore, if you are the person who has already achieved the goal, the universe must deliver the physical equivalent now, followed shortly by the material condensation of that energy. To expand this state of completion is to enter into a partnership with the silence, recognizing that the most profound work of manifestation occurs when the conscious mind is at rest. The frequency of finality is not something you do, but something you allow to occupy your being today. It is the peace that surpasses all understanding, a state where you are so certain of the outcome that you can finally afford to be indifferent to the process. This indifference is not a lack of interest, but a lack of anxiety. It is the same feeling you have after ordering a meal. You do not follow the chef into the kitchen to check on ingredients now. You sit in the absolute certainty that the meal is being prepared and will be delivered to your table. When you apply this same logic to the spiritual matrix, you remove the interference of the human will, allowing the law of reversed effort to work in its highest capacity. You move from the grind of the seeker to the grace of the owner in the world today, inhabiting a reality where every desire is recognized as a finished fact in the eternal library of the mind. As this frequency saturates your subconscious, your physical posture and your very presence begin to radiate the authority of one who has already won. This is the magnetic quality that draws people toward you without you lifting a finger for all now. The system of life is built on resonance, and when you resonate with the end, you become a destination for all the components required for that end. You are no longer chasing the world. The world is gravitating toward you. This is the ultimate victory over the material matrix, a realization that the power lies in the unshakable decision to dwell today. Dwell in the end until the end becomes the beginning. You stand as a sovereign creator, watching the physical shadows of the world shift and align with the brilliant, steady light of your inner completion, proving once and for all that the secret to having it all is the courage to believe you already do. The frequency is set, and the manifest is done. Chapter 5. Bypassing the Rational Mind. The architecture of the human intellect is designed to categorize, analyze, and protect the individual based on past experiences and sensory data. But this very function often acts as the greatest prison for those seeking to manifest a reality that does not yet exist. Joseph Murphy taught that the rational mind is the seat of logic, but it is also the seat of doubt for the world today. Its primary limitation is its refusal to believe in anything it cannot see, touch, or measure. To master the law of reversed effort, one must learn the sophisticated art of bypassing this analytical guardian to plant the seeds of desire directly into the subconscious. The rational mind is obsessed with the how and when, identifying obstacles based on the system today for all now. However, the subconscious mind operates outside the laws of linear logic and physical limitation. When you try to force a manifestation through the rational mind, you are essentially trying to solve a multidimensional puzzle with a two-dimensional tool. The breakthrough occurs only when you learn to silence the noisy demands of the intellect and enter the quiet sanctuary now. The impossible is recognized as the natural order of things. Bypassing the rational mind requires a deliberate cultivation of a state that is often described as a waking dream or a controlled trance. In this state, the sensory input from the external world is dampened, and the critical faculty of the intellect is temporarily suspended. The mind is a judge for the soul today. The rational mind is like a judge who demands evidence before allowing a thought to pass into the subconscious. If you tell a rational mind that you are wealthy while your bank account is empty, it will immediately reject the statement as a lie, creating a mental conflict that prevents the subconscious from accepting the new reality. Bypass this judgment through feeling today. This is done through the use of feeling and focused abstraction. Instead of arguing with the intellect about the facts of your life, you move your attention to the pure frequency of the state you wish to inhabit. You do not fight the logic. You simply rise above it into a frequency where logic has no jurisdiction. The analytical brain is inherently tied to the past for all now. Because of this, it is fundamentally incapable of perceiving a radical shift in your destiny. It can only imagine a slightly better or slightly worse version of what you have already experienced. To break the system of the material matrix, you must recognize that the rational mind is an excellent servant for physical tasks, but a terrible master for spiritual creation today. When a desire is born in your heart, the intellect will immediately begin to list all the reasons why it cannot happen, citing your lack of education, your current financial status, or the state of the global economy. This is the static of the ego. To bypass it, you must treat these logical objections as background noise irrelevant data points from a dying system for all now. By refusing to engage in a debate with your own logic, you starve the intellect of the energy it needs to maintain the barrier, allowing the creative impulse of the subconscious to flow forth and begin the work of materialization. One of the most effective ways to bypass the rational mind is through the use of the "it is finished" technique in the world for the soul today. Move so completely into the emotional result that the intellect no longer feels the need to search for a solution. When the rational mind believes there is a problem to be solved, it remains active, vigilant, and intrusive. However, when you convince the mind through feeling that the result is already achieved, The analytical engine shuts down for the spirit for all now. It is like a computer that stops searching once it has found the file. This is why Murphy emphasized the importance of the drowsy state, or the state akin to sleep. In these moments, the rational mind is naturally weakened, and the subconscious is most accessible. By saturating your mind with the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you slip the message past the guard today. Establish a new truth in the only place that matters, knowing that the physical world must eventually align with the internal record. The rational mind also thrives on complexity, believing that big problems require complicated, difficult solutions. This is a trap that leads to the very struggle that the law of reversed effort seeks to eliminate in the world for the soul now. To bypass this, you must embrace the profound simplicity of the spiritual laws. The subconscious mind does not need 100 steps or a complex strategy. It only needs a clear emotional impression of the end result. When you simplify your desire into a single word or a short phrase that implies completion, you speak a language the intellect cannot easily deconstruct today. A word like success or wealth, when repeated with deep, quiet conviction, bypasses the analytical filters because it is a statement of being, not a proposal for action. You are not asking the rational mind for permission to be successful. You are declaring success as your current vibration. This bypasses the need for how and moves you directly into the realm of is. As you become more adept at bypassing the intellect, you will find that your intuition becomes much sharper and more reliable. The rational mind often drowns out the quiet, steady guidance of the subconscious with its frantic calculations. When you silence the logic, you can hear the whispers of the infinite intelligence providing the exact impulses for the spirit for all now. These impulses often defy logic and may seem nonsensical to the rational mind, but they are the shortest path to your goal. The master is one who has the courage to follow the subconscious nudge, even when the analytical brain is screaming for caution. This is the leap of faith that breaks the system. By trusting the deeper self over sensory evidence, you win today. You are no longer a prisoner of what is realistic. You are the architect of what is possible, operating from a level of mind that the material matrix can neither understand nor control. Bypassing the rational mind is ultimately about shifting your identity from the person who thinks to the person who knows. Thinking is a process of searching for the soul for all now. The intellect is always thinking, always searching, and always doubting. The subconscious, however, simply knows and executes. When you bypass the logic, you are stepping into the power of your true self, which is an extension of the divine mind. You are reclaiming your sovereignty over your mental atmosphere and refusing to allow the five senses to rule in the world today. This shift into knowing is the final blow to the system of struggle. You move through life with a quiet, unshakable confidence that is not based on external circumstances, but on an internal certainty. You have bypassed the guard at the gate, and the treasury of the infinite is now open to you, ready to pour forth its riches in response to your vision for the soul now. This process of bypassing the intellect is a continuous practice of mental hygiene and spiritual discipline. Every time the rational mind tries to drag you back into the world of how and when, you must gently but firmly return to the feeling of now and already. You do not fight the thoughts, for fighting is a form of engagement that strengthens logic today. Instead, you look through the thoughts as if they were transparent shadows. You recognize that the intellect is merely trying to protect you using its limited, outdated maps of reality. You thank it for its service, but inform it that you are now navigating by a higher star. This detachment is the key to maintaining the bypass in the sanctuary for the spirit for all now. The more indifferent you become to the logical protests of your ego, the more powerful your subconscious impressions become. You are building a new mental highway that circumvents the congested roads of human struggle, leading you directly into the grace and ease of the divine flow. We must recognize that the rational mind is the source of the time-lagged today. Because it believes in the reality of linear time and physical distance, it creates the very delay it fears. To bypass the mind is to bypass time itself. In the subconscious, there is no tomorrow. There is only the present state of consciousness. Convince the subconscious that the desired state is your current reality, and the universe is forced to collapse time for all now. Bring the manifestation into the physical plane with startling speed. This is how miracles occur. They are simply manifestations where the rational mind's interference was completely removed. By mastering this bypass, you become a miracle worker in your own life, moving past the limitations of the material system and into the limitless potential of the spirit today. Finally, the bypass of the rational mind leads to a state of total integration, where the conscious and subconscious work in perfect harmony. You no longer see the intellect as an enemy to be defeated, but as a tool that has been properly calibrated. Once the subconscious has accepted the new blueprint, the rational mind will begin to find logic to support it now. It will start to notice evidence of your success that it previously ignored. It will align its calculations with your new vibration, becoming a faithful ally in the manifestation process. This is the ultimate goal, a unified mind that is no longer divided against itself. You have moved beyond the trap of willpower and the struggle of the ego in the world today, inhabiting a reality where your word is law and your life is a continuous, effortless reflection of the infinite good you have established in the silent, bypass depths of your soul. The depth of this bypass is reached when you no longer feel the need to explain your vision to yourself or others, as the need for explanation is a symptom of the mind for all now. Joseph Murphy observed that when the subjective mind is truly impressed, the conscious intellect enters a state of holy silence. This silence is the evidence that you have successfully moved beyond the friction of trying to believe and have entered the grace of simply knowing. The rational mind thrives on the why, but the subconscious mind only cares for the soul today. By starving the intellect of its reasons and its evidence, you force it to surrender its dominance over your creative process. You become a master of the mental void, a space where the logic of the world cannot enter and where the frequency of your heart remains untainted by the skepticism of the external senses. This void is pregnant with potential for the all now. Recognize that the analytical brain is often the source of physical tension in the body, which acts as a secondary barrier to the creative flow. When the mind is racing with logic and doubt, the muscles of the body tighten, creating a physiological reflection of mental resistance. To truly bypass the mind, one must also bypass the body's habitual tension today. Enter a state of complete physical relaxation, where the cells themselves seem to open up to the new vibration. In this profound stillness, the boundaries between the individual self and the universal intelligence dissolve. You are no longer a small, logical entity fighting against a vast world. You are the world itself, rearranging itself in accordance with law now. This is the ultimate subversion of the human system, where the silence of the intellect becomes the loudest command in the universe, and the absence of conscious effort becomes the catalyst for the greatest material changes. As this bypass becomes your habitual state, you will notice that the impossibilities of your past begin to evaporate in the world today. The rational mind, which once stood as a towering wall of no, begins to crumble from the lack of attention. You realize that you never had to break the system. You only had to stop feeding it with your belief in its power. The spiritual matrix is a system of mirrors, and the rational mind is merely one of the distorted lenses of the human spirit for all now. By removing that lens, you see the reality of your abundance and health as it truly is, a present fact that was only hidden by the static of your own logic. You move through your days with a sense of quiet authority, no longer asking for permission from your intellect or your circumstances, but operating from a level of mind where your intent is the world today. Intent and its manifestation are one and the same, proving that the shortest distance between 2 points is not a straight line of effort, but a vertical leap of faith into the bypassed depths of the soul. The final stage is the realization that the intellect is a lagging instrument, always attempting to interpret a reality already created for the all-now. When you wait for the rational mind to understand or approve your success, you are essentially asking a historian to predict the future. It can only look backward at what has already solidified. To expand beyond this, you must develop the capacity to remain comfortable in the unknown, refusing to let the analytical brain fill the silence with worry today. This is the state of divine darkness, where the ego cannot see, but the soul knows with absolute clarity. By dwelling in this space, you bypass the entire human system of probability and statistics, moving into a realm where the only law is your own consciousness. You are no longer navigating by the flickering light of logic, but by the internal sun for all now. As the rational mind's grip loosens, you begin to experience the world as a fluid projection of your internal state, rather than a rigid external reality. The problems that the intellect once analyzed begin to resolve themselves in a matter of hours, often through means that logic would have labeled as impossible. This happens because you removed friction today. The system of struggle is maintained by the rational mind's constant attention to it. Once that attention is withdrawn and bypassed, the system collapses for lack of energy. You find yourself inhabiting a high-retention reality where your focus is so sharp and your mind so quiet that you can command the atoms of your experience to align for the all-now. This is the ultimate freedom, the ability to bypass the collective limitations of the human race and operate as a sovereign creator within the spiritual matrix. Ultimately, the bypass becomes a total surrender to the effortless nature of true power. You realize that you do not need to know how the bridge will be built. You only need to be at the end today. This total immersion in the end result, achieved by silencing the how of the intellect, is the most profound application of the law of reversed effort. It is the secret path taken by those who achieve the extraordinary with the ease of a child at play. By refusing to engage with the rational mind's demands for effort, you open the door to a life for the all-now. You move from the grind of the logical system into the grace of the divine flow, where every intent is a seed that grows in the silence, and every desire is fulfilled by the same infinite intelligence that manages the galaxies without a single conscious struggle. You stand as the master of your own mind, proving that the greatest power is the silence today. The integration of this bypass into your daily existence creates a psychological buffer that protects your creative vision from the corrosive effects of common sense. Common sense is often nothing more than the collective limitations of a society that has forgotten its own divine origin, a system built on the fear of failure and worship of the all-now. By bypassing the rational mind, you are essentially opting out of this collective hypnosis. You begin to treat the impossible not as a barrier, but as a signal that the intellect has reached its limit, and it is time for the subconscious to take command. This is where the true engineering of reality begins. You move through the world with a dual focus today. While your physical self interacts with the material system, your true self remains anchored in the quiet, bypassed depths of the soul, where the laws of the matrix have no authority. This allows you to witness the most chaotic external events with a sense of divine indifference, knowing that your internal reality is the only true cause of the all-now. This state of mental bypass also facilitates a total reorganization of your energetic field. The rational mind is a consumer of vast amounts of vital energy. Its constant worrying and calculating are exhausting to the human spirit. When you bypass these functions, you reclaim that energy, allowing it to pool in your subconscious and increase power today. You become a high-retention vessel for power. Instead of leaking your strength through the friction of logical debates, you solidify it through the grace of silence. This reclaimed energy is what collapses the time lag between your thought and its materialization. The more you bypass the intellect, the denser your mental images become for the all-now. They carry enough spiritual weight to manifest in the physical world with startling speed and precision. You are no longer fighting for your life. You are allowing your life to be lived by the infinite intelligence that knows no struggle. As the bypass deepens, the nature of your desires begins to shift. You no longer desire things from lack today. Because the rational mind is no longer in control, your desires become declarations of what is next in your journey of fulfillment. You are not a beggar at the gates of the universe. You are the sovereign ruler of your own mental kingdom, issuing edicts that the subconscious mind carries out with mathematical certainty. Reversed effort is the all-now. You step out of the grind of the human system and into the effortless flow of the divine, where your peace is unshakable, your supply is infinite, and your every intent is recognized by the universe as a finished fact before you even speak it into existence. You stand as a beacon of what is possible when a human being ignores the noise today. Chapter 6. The Quiet Mind Method. The ultimate achievement in the mastery of the law of reversed effort is the cultivation of a mind that is moved beyond the necessity of constant noise, internal debate, and frantic visualization, entering instead into a state of profound and generative silence. Joseph Murphy taught that the subconscious mind is most active and most receptive when the conscious intellect is in a state of stillness today. Yet most individuals equate mental activity with progress, believing that the louder they think, the faster they will manifest. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of spiritual mechanics, for the creative power of the universe does not reside in the storm of human thought, but in the quietude that precedes it. To master the quiet mind method is to recognize that silence is a high-frequency state for the soul now. It is a state of readiness where the subjective self becomes perfectly aligned with the infinite intelligence. In this stillness, the friction of the ego is removed, and the intent of the individual is magnified by the power of the whole, allowing for a manifestation process that is as silent and inevitable as the growth of a star in the deep reaches of space in the world for the spirit today. A quiet mind is the only medium through which the divine blueprint can be transmitted without the distortion of human fear or cultural conditioning. When the mind is noisy, it is like a turbulent sea that reflects a shattered and chaotic image of the sun. The power is there, but it is dispersed and ineffective. By quieting the mental waves, you create a mirror that can receive and project reality for all now. This method requires a radical shift in how you perceive your internal world, moving away from the role of a frantic manager and into the role of a silent witness. Most people are terrified of the silence within because it forces them to confront the vacuum of the ego. But the spiritual master understands that this vacuum is the very space where creation begins in the world for the soul today. By consciously choosing to lower the volume of your internal dialogue, you are clearing the static from your spiritual transmission, ensuring that the subconscious receives a clean, powerful signal of your intended state. The practice of the quiet mind involves a deep understanding of the relationship between attention and energy. Every thought is a consumer of your vital force for the all-now. A mind that is constantly jumping from one worry to another is a mind that is leaking its power into the material matrix. To master the law of reversed effort, you must learn to withdraw your attention from the trivial and the chaotic, pooling your energy in the silence of the soul. This is not a state of emptiness, but of concentrated potential in the sanctuary for the spirit today. It is the silence of the archer just before the release of the arrow, a moment of total presence where the self and the goal are one. When you approach your manifestations from this quiet center, you no longer feel the need to use affirmations as tools of combat against your current reality. Instead, you hold the quiet knowing of success, allowing that silence to do the heavy lifting now. The quiet mind method is the direct antidote to the exhaustion and burnout that often accompany the misuse of willpower. When you are trying to manifest through effort, you are constantly pushing against the current of life, creating a state of internal tension that eventually collapses the nervous system. The quiet mind operates through the grace of non-action in the world today. You reach a point where you realize that the answer to every problem and the fulfillment of every desire is already present in the silence, waiting only for your recognition. By silencing the analytical brain, you stop asking for things and start allowing them to be. This is the highest form of prayer and carries the vibration of absolute trust for the spirit, for the all now. A mind that is quiet is a mind that is already convinced. It has no need for words because it has already touched the reality of the finished fact. This internal stillness also facilitates a profound reorganization of your external environment, as the world of form is nothing more than a slow-moving reflection of your mental atmosphere. You stop radiating conflict in the world today. When you maintain a quiet mind, you stop radiating the signals of conflict, lack, and urgency that characterize the human system. As a result, the external matrix stops providing you with reasons to be urgent or conflicted. You find that your daily affairs begin to run with a newfound smoothness, that obstacles dissolve, and that the resources you require appear exactly now for the soul. This is not a coincidence, but the result of your movement into the frequency of the infinite, which is inherently silent and perfectly ordered. By becoming the silence, you command the noise of the world to settle into harmony with your inner peace, proving that the quietest soul is indeed the master of every system. Bypassing the need for mental stimulation allows wisdom today. The quiet mind method is the act of emptying the cup so that it can be filled by the universal intelligence. In the silence, you receive the marching orders of the soul, those quiet, persistent nudges that lead you toward your highest good with the least amount of effort. You no longer have to struggle to find the right path, for the path reveals itself in the all now for the soul. This is the ultimate freedom, to move through life with a mind that is at rest, knowing that the power which created the universe is managing every detail of your existence with the same effortless precision that governs the orbits of the planets. As you deepen your practice, you will notice that the time lag between your intent and its materialization begins to vanish today. The delay in manifestation is almost always caused by the friction of a noisy mind that is constantly questioning and looking at the clock. When the mind is truly quiet, it exists in the eternal now, where there is no time and therefore no delay. Your desires are recognized by the subconscious as present facts, and the physical world responds with startling speed for all now. By inhabiting the silence, you are operating from the center of the spiritual matrix, where the laws of cause and effect are collapsed into a single point of absolute creation. Finally, the quiet mind method leads to the realization that you are not the creator of your reality in the sense of a small ego building something from scratch, but a channel for the light in the world today. This realization removes the final burden of responsibility and effort from your shoulders. You realize that your only job is to remain quiet enough to be a clear lens for the divine light. When you achieve this state of mental rest, you have truly mastered the law of reversed effort. You have moved from the grind of the human system into the grace of the divine flow for all now. You stand as a master of this objective realm, watching the world of effects shift and settle into the perfect reflection of the unshakable stillness you have found within the depths of your soul. The expansion of this silence into your daily activities is what transforms a simple technique into a state of permanent mastery. Maintain this mental stillness in the world today. The master of the quiet mind method treats the external world as a theatrical performance, engaging with it when necessary, but never allowing the noise of the play to disturb the internal sanctuary. This creates a psychological barrier that prevents the negative suggestions of the world from reaching the subconscious. Your mind remains anchored in the silence for the all now. While the world around you may be screaming of scarcity, illness, or crisis, your mind remains anchored in the silence of abundance and health. This refusal to join the collective noise is the most potent form of rebellion against the material matrix. By maintaining your inner quiet, you are essentially telling the universe that the external evidence does not matter today. The universe, in turn, is forced to provide you with a reality that reflects your unbothered state. This deep stillness also has a profound effect on your physical presence and the way others interact with you. A quiet mind radiates a frequency of authority and peace that is felt by everyone you encounter. You find that you no longer need to argue or force others for all now. People are naturally drawn to the stillness within you, sensing a source of power that they themselves lack. This is the magnetic quality of the law of reversed effort in its highest form. Because you are not reaching out to influence the world gravitates toward you to be influenced by your peace. You become a stable point in a shifting reality in the world today. The material system begins to organize itself around your center of gravity. This is how the masters of old were able to perform what appeared to be miracles. They were simply so still that the world had no choice but to conform to their internal order. Furthermore, the quiet mind allows for the total dissolution of the how and the when for the soul for all now. When the mind is truly quiet, it does not care about the mechanics of manifestation because it is already experiencing the result. This indifference to the process is the ultimate bypass of the rational mind. You are no longer navigating by a map of logic. You are navigating by the compass of your own internal silence. This silence knows the shortest path today. It knows the shortest path to your goal, often involving coincidences and opportunities that your analytical brain would have dismissed as impossible. By staying quiet, you allow the subconscious to build the bridge of incidents in the background, ensuring that your arrival at the goal is as effortless as it is inevitable. You move through life with a sense of play now. Ultimately, the quiet mind method is the path to total integration with the infinite. You realize that the noise of your thoughts was the only thing keeping you separate from the source of all supply. By silencing the self, you discover the all. The struggle ends because there is no one left to fight. The desire is fulfilled because there is no one left to want today. You are simply a witness to the glorious unfolding of the divine life through you. The law of reversed effort is no longer a technique you apply, but the very nature of your existence. You do nothing, yet nothing is left undone, as you inhabit a reality where your every intent is a silent command, and your every day is a celebration of effortless grace for the all now. The depth of this method manifests fully when silence ceases to be an intermittent practice and becomes the permanent substrate of your consciousness. In the architecture of the material system, we are taught that silence is emptiness, a substance that must be filled with noise. However, in the spiritual matrix, this silence is the maximum density of power today. It is the state of absolute coherence, where the fluctuations of fear and doubt have been completely eliminated. By expanding this silence, you allow your subconscious mind to operate with crystalline purity. There is no longer background noise interfering with the signal of your desires. Your intention moves at the speed of light toward physical realization for all now. This generative silence also acts as a supreme filter against external suggestion. The world is constantly sending signals of limitation, lack, and conflict through the media and the conversations of others. An individual with a noisy mind absorbs these signals like a sponge, allowing them to become seeds of failure in their subconscious. Maintain the silence today. But when you master the quiet mind method, you create a force field of psychic invisibility. The world's suggestions simply find nowhere to anchor. They pass through you without a trace because they find neither an emotional response nor an intellectual debate to cling to. You become a sovereign observer who sees the drama of the world without being part of it now. Maintain your internal vibration at the level of the solution, while the rest of humanity remains trapped in the vibration of the problem. This is the true application of the law of reversed effort. The less you struggle to protect your mind, the more protected it is by the purity of your own stillness. As this silence expands, the notion of waiting dissolves today. Impatience is always a product of mental noise, a sign that the rational mind is calculating the distance between the present and the future. In the absolute silence of the subconscious mind, time does not exist. There is only the eternal now of creation. By inhabiting this stillness, you are eliminating the friction that causes delay in manifestation for all now. You begin to notice that the things you desire appear with astonishing synchronicity, often before you have had time to formulate a conscious strategy. This happens because silence has unified your will with the infinite intelligence. And for that intelligence, the thought and the thing are one. You have ceased to be a seeker to become a conscious receiver today. Finally, the mastery of silence grants you the ability to act with almost supernatural precision in the physical world. When you act from a noisy mind, your actions are often reactive and laden with anxiety. But when you act from silence, every movement is inspired. You know exactly what to say and what step to take, because stillness has allowed wisdom for all now. You become a channel for the divine flow, and your actions become so fluid and effective that they seem to lack effort. You have broken the system of human struggle and entered the grace of spiritual mastery, where silence is your word of command, and the peace of your mind is the magnet that attracts all the treasures of the universe toward you. It is done today. Chapter 7. The Ascension to Sovereignty. The culmination of the internal journey and the final stage of mastering the law of reversed effort is the transition from an individual who uses spiritual laws to a being who embodies them, achieving a state of spiritual sovereignty that is no longer subject to the fluctuations of the material matrix. Joseph Murphy understood the ultimate purpose was the world today for the soul now. To achieve this sovereignty, one must undergo a final psychological death, the death of the dependent self that looks outside for validation, supply, or identity. This state is reached when you no longer feel the need to manifest anything, because you have arrived at the profound realization that you already possess everything within the vastness of your consciousness for the all-now. Paradoxically, it is at this very point of total detachment and inner completion that the external world begins to pour its riches upon you, with a magnitude that exceeds your previous efforts, for you are no longer a separate ego trying to grasp for more, but a sovereign channel through which the infinite flows with unhindered power in the world for the spirit today. Spiritual sovereignty is characterized by a radical shift in the foundation of your security. In the human system, security is built on the shifting sands of external evidence, a stable job, a healthy body, or the approval of others. The sovereign being, however, builds their security on the unchangeable rock of the I Am consciousness. This is the ultimate for the all now. It involves a total cessation of the search. You realize that you are the source, not the seeker. This realization acts as a total bypass of the material laws of cause and effect. While the world struggles with the effects of economic cycles or health trends, the sovereign mind remains anchored in the cause, which is the eternal awareness of its own divinity today. By identifying with the source of all things, rather than the things themselves, you become immune to the fear of loss, for you know that the power that created your current abundance is always present and can recreate it 1,000 times over in more magnificent ways. This inner certainty is the final blow to the system of struggle in the sanctuary for the spirit now. It removes the very root of anxiety and allows the law of reversed effort to function at its highest frequency of grace. This state of sovereignty requires an unwavering loyalty to your internal vision, even when that vision stands in direct opposition to the consensus reality of the masses. To be sovereign is to be the sole authority in your mind today. Most people live in a state of psychic democracy, where their moods and beliefs are voted on by the environment, the news, and the people around them. The sovereign individual, however, operates as a benevolent monarch. You hear the noise of the world, you see the shadows, but you do not grant them the power to cast a vote in your consciousness for the all-now. You understand that your world is a private projection, and you take full responsibility for every frame of the film. This total responsibility is the secret to total power. By refusing to blame the system for your circumstances, you reclaim the power to rewrite the script from within. You no longer fight the screen. You simply change the film today. As you ascend to this level of mastery, the relationship between your thought and its materialization becomes so intimate that the concept of effort begins to lose its meaning. You move from the stage of believing to the stage of knowing, and finally to the stage of being. When you are being the frequency, there is no distance now for the soul. The world of effects becomes like a fluid garment that drapes itself perfectly over the shape of your inner conviction. This is the divine ease that Joseph Murphy spoke of, a state where your very presence is a command that the universe delights in fulfilling. You find that you no longer have to spend hours in intense visualization in the world today. Your default state is one of abundance, health, and peace. You have become a spiritual law unto yourself. This is the ultimate subversion of the human struggle, for it proves that the greatest heights of achievement are reached not through the sweat of the brow, but through the stillness of the heart and the sovereignty of the mind for the spirit for all now. The sovereign individual also masters the art of selective attention, recognizing that in a world of infinite possibilities, you only experience what you choose to witness. The material matrix thrives on capturing your attention and dragging it into the vibration of problem-solving and lack. Sovereignty is the ability to withdraw that attention today. Place it exclusively on the reality of your choice. This is not a form of denial, but an exercise of divine authority. You acknowledge the appearance of a problem, but you deny it the power to define your reality. You look through the appearance to the spiritual truth behind it, maintaining your focus on the harmony at the core of all now for the soul. By refusing to give the problem the energy of your emotional reaction, you starve it of its life force, allowing it to dissolve while you remain undisturbed in the glory of your chosen state. This is the peak of non-resistance. You do not defeat the world. You simply outshine it with the brilliance of your own inner light in the world for the spirit today. This ascension to sovereignty brings with it a profound sense of psychological and emotional rest. The frantic need to succeed is replaced by the quiet joy of expression. You realize that your life is not a test you must pass or a ladder you must climb, but a divine play in which you are the author, the director, and the star for the all now for the soul. The burden of the future falls away, and the weight of the past is dissolved in the fire of your present awareness. You inhabit the eternal now, where all things are possible and all desires are already fulfilled. This is the true Sabbath of the mind, the state of rest that follows the realization that the work of I, creation, is finished today in the world. You move through your days with a light heart and a clear eye, witnessing the miraculous as a daily occurrence. You have broken every system of limitation, transcended every law of struggle, and reclaimed your birthright as a child of the infinite. Ultimately, the law of reversed effort leads to the discovery that you are not in the world for all now. The world is in you. Every person you meet, every event you experience, and every object you possess is a reflection of a state of consciousness you have inhabited. Spiritual sovereignty is the conscious mastery of these states. It is the understanding that you have the power to select any reality you wish from the infinite ocean today for the spirit. Assume the feeling of that reality and remain faithful to it in the silence of your soul. You are the architect of your destiny, the master of your mind, and the sovereign of your experience. As you close this journey, remember that the power that breaks every system is not something you have to acquire. It is who you are for the soul for the all now. The struggle is over, the work is done, and the kingdom of your heart is now open to all the riches of the infinite. The closing of this circle is the recognition that the Master does not seek power, but realizes that they are power in its most concentrated form. You stand now at the threshold of a new existence in the world today for the soul. The laws of the physical world are seen as the soft suggestions they truly are, and the laws of the mind are understood as the only absolute reality. You have bypassed the intellect, quieted the noise, and assumed the frequency of finality. There is nothing left to do but to live in the glory of your own creation for the Spirit, for the all now. Your life is no longer a search for meaning, but a demonstration of the infinite grace that occurs when a human soul finally stops fighting and begins to flow with the current of its own divinity. You are free, you are whole, and you are sovereign. The journey of effort has ended, and the eternal day of effortless manifestation has begun today. The universe does not reward the one who struggles the most, but the one who trusts the most. Trust is the highest vibration of the human spirit, for it is the total absence of resistance. When you trust the infinite intelligence within you, you are moving in harmony with the creative force of the entire cosmos for the Spirit, for the all now. Every door opens, every path is made straight, and every desire is fulfilled with the grace of a falling leaf. You have transcended the grind of the human system and entered the sanctuary of the Spirit. Your word is now law, your peace is now unshakable, and your joy is now complete. Go forth into your world and live as the sovereign today. The power that breaks every system is now fully awakened within you, and your life is a testament to the glorious ease of the divine flow. The expansion of this sovereignty into the fabric of your daily existence represents the final dissolution of the boundary between the sacred and the mundane. You recognize every breath for the soul, for all now. You recognize that every encounter and every mundane task is an act of creation within the spiritual matrix. The sovereign being does not go to a specific place to find power. They carry the temple of their own stillness into the noise of the marketplace, the boardroom, and the street. This presence shatters the illusions of the matrix today. While others are reacting to the shadows on the wall, you are consciously directing the light that casts them. This is the ultimate subversion of the law of effort. You are so identified with the source that your very existence becomes a continuous, effortless manifestation of divine order. You have become consciousness itself for the all now, resting in the eternal certainty of your own completion. This state of being creates a high retention field around your intentions, where the energy of your desires is no longer dissipated by the friction of human doubt. In the old system of struggle, a thought was a weak and flickering thing, constantly snuffed out by the winds today for the soul. In the state of sovereignty, a thought is a solid decree, backed by the total weight of your unshakable conviction. You have reached a level of mental density where your internal world is more solid than the physical world outside. Because of this, the physical world must eventually yield and take the shape of your inner mold for the all now. You move through life with a sense of holy indifference to the how and the when, not because you lack passion, but because you possess the ultimate certainty. You are the master of the time lag, knowing that any delay is merely the physical world catching up to the spiritual fact you have already established in the world for the Spirit today. This patience is not the patience of a waiter, but the patience of a king who knows his orders are being carried out in the far reaches of his empire. As you embody this final expansion, you realize that the ultimate purpose of the law of reversed effort was to lead you back to the simplicity of your own nature, for the Spirit, for the all now. The complexity, the struggle, and the techniques were all concessions to the rational mind that believed power must be difficult to attain. Now, in the light of your sovereignty, you see that power is as natural as breathing. You no longer seek to break the system, for you have outgrown it. The rules of labor simply do not apply today. The rules of lack, competition, and labor simply do not apply to a being who knows themselves to be an extension of the infinite. You have ascended to a reality where grace is the only currency and ease is the only method. Your journey from effort to flow is complete. You stand as a beacon for all of humanity, for the soul, for the all now. A living demonstration that the quietest soul possesses the greatest power, and that the path to having everything is found in the simple, sovereign decision to let go of the oars and allow the river of life to carry you home. The frequency is set, the transition is finished, and the sovereignty is yours in the world today for the soul.